It's this one. Get ready.
Yeah.
Who's that man? Who's that man sitting over there?
Oh, that's serious. Yeah.
Folks, I've got 6:30 on my clock, so we will start the meeting. I want to call this forum meeting to order on this Thursday evening, May the 12th. And welcome everybody. And if we'll just bow our heads in a moment of silence before we start. I'm in. Commissioners, you've got the agenda before you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion from Kitty Fouché, Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Otto. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. The agenda is adopted and the floor is open to the public.
I'm Philip Arnold, a year-round resident at 530 McGill Drive. I'm actually wanting to speak tonight on behalf of my entire family, 4 generations that have been a part of the history of Montreat. 91 years a part of the history of this community. I want to speak tonight to the entire community of Montreat about the concern of our family over how the legal battle over the lodge is draining the finances of this town. When the fight started over the lodge, I stayed neutral. I just followed along in the Black Mountain News. But I am a member of the town audit committee, and I've watched as the town has had to write check after check to lawyers, spending money that we don't have, money that's not in the town's budget. And when I heard the other day that the town's legal bills on this lodge were now well over $100,000 and still rising, I thought, oh my gosh, how will this town council deal with this deficit? I know this council does not want to raise our property taxes when Montreat property taxes rival those of Biltmore Forest as the highest in the community. We're a little town with limited resources. We're not a large city like Asheville or Charlotte that can absorb the expenses of a protracted legal battle. When I was a CPA working in Atlanta, I had some governmental clients. One was a small town similar in size to Montreat. A single legal battle brought by a couple of residents who had more money than the town had, and they would not give up. They had the money, they just kept fighting, and it almost brought that town to its knees. So I was disturbed when I read in the Black Mountain News that the Lodge opposition had decided to continue this legal battle, going now out of Montreat into the court system. And for me, this means that the attorney bills will keep depleting the town's financial reserves. This is money that I have paid the town in the form of taxes. As have you, my friends, who live on South Carolina Terrace, Virginia Road, Texas Road, Tennessee Road. Your neighbors, my neighbors, living in our little community. And so now as I drive down Assembly Drive, and I see those red ribbons still tied around trees, their meaning has changed for me. You know, accountants don't like the color of red. We never like red ink. And as long as those red ribbons hang on those trees, and I see them as I drive to the post office, they will remind me that the battle continues and that this fight is bleeding this town financially. So let me close by inviting anyone that was involved in the decision to take the battle onto the courts to tell us, perhaps even tonight, if the financial impact on the town was a consideration when they debated whether to appeal to the courts. Were they watching the numbers of all these checks being written by the town? Were they watching the outlay by the town? Were they sensitive to this issue that the town is bleeding financially? And I'll finish by throwing out a crazy idea, but I'm going to throw it out there. Would going forward with the plaintiffs be willing to reimburse the taxpayers for future legal bills that certainly will be incurred by the town? I'm not talking about what's already happened. I'm just talking about going forward. And I think that one action, that one commitment certainly would win back some hearts and minds that they right now may be starting to lose. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Tom?
Tom Frisk, 98 Frisk Road. I agree totally. A lot of people do. But I want to talk about something else. It's something else, but it's connected because we've been, summer's coming, spring's here. The bridge is nowhere in sight. The beautiful covered bridge with a little park by it that we've been waiting for years for. And our $125,000 for the study is now going into lawyers' fees. And it's sad. It's sad for us. The area, I'd love that whole area to be the Shalom place, a park and bridge, the covered bridge, and really nice. And I was thinking that we haven't got any money. I'd love to contribute a little. I talked to the flower people in Black Mountain, and they can put up containers with flowers and shrubs, perennials and annuals, or starting, you know, around, they would take care of it for about $3,000. Well, I put in $1,500 if we could do something to bring peace and a little beauty there and get something started. It's so frustrating. It's so many years just sitting there. And we have members, 3 members on the committee here, right here, the bridge committee that want, you know, we all want this. And we can do something. And I would love to contribute that if other people would, if there's some discretionary money from y'all that could also put in. Start with 3,000. I think we could do something very nice with 6 containers of all that flowers. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Ben, you want to bring us up to date on what we're doing on the bridge right now? I don't know if Tom knows about that. We've got something in the works on that, Tom.
Can you hear me? Yes, there's a couple of comments. First, we, as mentioned in previous commissioners meetings, we have 2 outstanding grants to look at funding for the completion of the bridge. And also we have in our proposed budget monies for the bridge conversion for the upcoming July 1.
Thank you, Tom. We're still trying to move on. We're pulling pennies from here and trying for grants and so forth. So hopefully sometime this summer, you might see something happening on that. Tom, do you have any idea when they're going to do it? Just a second. Let me ask, do you have any idea when the grants are going to be reviewed?
The Metropolitan Planning Organization grant that we applied for, the allocation committee met last week, and Montreat, out of 25 different applications, Montreat was number 3 in terms of their recommendation, and would be funded if they follow through with the recommendation.
Thank you, Tom. And on the other grant, I have spoken with 4 county commissioners, excuse me, and asked for them when they review the grants from that Buncombe County is going to be coming forth with, if they would please support us on that. And we got some positive feedback, but there are no promises in those feedbacks. Tom.
Different, that structure and everything else. What about something right now for beautification?
Okay, I hear you. We will talk about that. Who's up next? Yes, sir.
I'm Bryant McIntyre, 158 Virginia Road. And I have, first of all, let me say thank you for this time. It used to not exist just a few years ago, this pre-meeting time for us to share and do a little bit of venting. And I appreciate that very much. I have here something I wrote almost 2 years ago now. It's a question of whys, because we returned from overseas in Asia after 20 years. We came back, we've been coming in summers, but when you come in the summer, you get a kind of a snapshot of incremental change in Montreat. But when we came back to stay, we started walking more in Montreat, displaced because of COVID. We started to notice the changes were more profound than anything we could have imagined. And I just started writing down why do some of these things happen? One of the first things that happened was, and I think like Mr. Briss said, so many of these things are connected. I think it deals with a shift in ethos or a shift in how we react with one another's neighbors, but and function. My daughter, being a Montreat College student, I was one of the first 4-year classes, 84 to 88, and played basketball at Montreat. My daughter gets a $50 parking ticket in my vehicle because it has a Montreat College sticker on it, but she's parked at 7:30 in the morning getting ready to go to class on the wrong side of the lake. So the Montreat officer issues that ticket on what I think is MRA property. And I was just going, why? Anybody else in the United States without that ticket, without that sticker, could park in that parking spot and not get a ticket. But we live here. We pay taxes here. It's 97.2%, along with the water fees and the other things, contributing to the bottom line here. College MRA less than 3% of our operational budget. I'm thinking now, so why does she get a ticket? I have to go and I have to go fight the ticket. But it's a mystery to me. I'm thinking, shouldn't a Montreat police officer give that ticket? If there's a ticket to be issued, how's a Montreat college officer giving a ticket in an MRA parking spot on my personal car who lives here? Not disgruntled about it, but I think there's a philosophy there somewhere about the college, the MRA, reaching out to those of us who pay taxes to, show some neighborly love. I know that my father-in-law, who used to be a commissioner, we were talking about this. He's old enough to remember that when the MRA had this property, and it was not a township, but there was a gate fee charged right here. He said it made up a large amount, or he said it made up an amount. I don't know how large the amount was of money used to do stuff in Montreat. As a township, I don't think we can reinstitute that, but we need to reinstitute something. So when we were walking up to, when we would go up to Graybeard during the summer, we started counting cars. We were going, well, there's 32 cars parked here this morning. There's over 50 parked here this morning. If you're a Montreat resident, just park at home and walk all the way up because you can't park there. There's no handicap parking, parking meters. Now that would be a bad idea. That just doesn't send the right image for Montreat. But couldn't you design a parking meter that looks like Montreat, that looks rustic? There's a entering Montreat, Montreat Township sign is up there now. So if you're coming down, you can see that it's Montreat Township. So I'm just brainstorming ways to bring in some money and yet elevate the Montreat property owner who pays taxes. Maybe a card, maybe something like that where, the Montreat, there's some spaces reserved for Montreat resident. Then the Montreat police officers could go and write tickets to those who are non-Montreat residents and make some money that way. And, something where the public is coming in and using all the resources, using MRA maintained hiking trails, eroding them, and somehow get some way to either limit it or bring in some revenue at the same time, some creative ways. I also want to speak very quickly to the potential change in government. I wanted to know, how will that be decided? Will that be referendum vote? Is that going to be a council decision? Do you already know how it would be decided? Okay. I was going to say I would really appreciate it where things can be as democratic as possible, since our democracy has been attacked all over the place, both locally and state and federally, that it would be great if that could be a referendum vote, because that's a major, major change in my mind. It's a huge shift in responsibility. And I have written on this, of course, in the Montreat Stewards. I hope that you follow it.
I've served under both. I've served under I was a mayor for a mayor council form of government, or with a manager, and I've been here, and there's very little difference at all.
Mayor, council, and manager, is that the same thing? I thought it was mayor. I thought it was administrator, mayor, council, administrator. Okay.
The only difference being is that it takes it out of the political realm at all. Right now, if I were influenced politically, then I could steer a lot of things the way the government's set up now, but I don't do that. And the previous mayor didn't do that, but it could be done. So that's one thing. That's one way it does. It removes it politically, and it's much more efficient. We have continually trained people to go into town manager positions here in Montreat, and it's going to continue with turnover. And we're trying to attract a new person to take over the town, as far as the administrator, manager, whatever it's going to be. Someone with higher qualifications than we've had in the past. Therefore, we don't end up spending money sending them to Raleigh to become a town manager and go somewhere else. So that's what we're trying to do, is to come up with a better method of attracting someone with a great deal more experience right now.
From the way you're discussing it, it sounds like you're very much for it. Right. Right. So what I would say to that simply is this: if you get a manager, they don't necessarily have the background and attachment to this very special code we live in. They don't have the backstory. I know we have newcomers here as well that are serving. Appreciate that. But I think it's just exactly the opposite. And I think many people do. At the end of the day, that we would like someone. We would like a mayor who does take a political stance and is influenced by their constituents who are saying, we would like this to happen. We don't want that to happen, and speak into that situation with authority rather than relinquishing that authority, even though the motivation's great. Want somebody who's, bipartisan, or someone who's neutral to not be swayed by politics. So that's kind of the way. But whatever form of government it is. Yeah, so you're looking at your watch. Well, I mean, so, okay. Anyway, I'll end. But whatever form it is, town administrator, town manager, if, and I did not come up with this term, I saw it written by someone else who pays taxes in Montreat. If it's an oligarchy with the college and the MRA and the constituents and the taxpayers, and the constituents are probably less than 50% of the taxpayers who own property because they live elsewhere and are registered to vote elsewhere. If they want something to go this way, it won't matter whether it's a manager or an administrator if they're not listened to. I think that's the bottom line for most everyone. And finally, on the $125,000, I'll end here. I think there's plenty of blame to go around for that. We all agree with you, whichever side of this we fall on. It's heinous that money can't be used for bridges, can't be used for so many other things. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Who's next, please?
Mary Standard, and I'm a full-time resident. And I'd like to start off by saying it's nice to hear the discussions tonight. And also I'd like to thank the council for their proactive stance in making sure the Board of Adjustment had all of the legal advice and all the support they needed during this time. They are volunteers. This is a very complicated matter. It's expensive. The town has had expenses before. But thank you to the council for making sure that they were supported and that we were in as good a shape as we could be, given what you were and the town was handed. The expense keeps rising, it's going to keep on rising. Budget monies have been appropriated, some $55,000, I think, last month from the bridge to go to administrative and legal fees and budget amendment number 9. I just wanted to state that it wasn't clear in the minutes just how much money that was actually transferred. So that's for the record. And that's been a piggy bank, the bridge fund, for a little while now. I think back in February, money was taken from the bridge fund to fund something else. And as awful as that figure is, and as high as it is, 120 and growing, our financial concerns as a town did not begin with the legal fees. They can certainly perhaps be dated back to what we learned in February, when we learned as a town and as a committee that our audit for the fiscal year 2020 was turned in a year and a half late. About a year, not quite a year and a half late, and that we are on the League of Governments watch list, but that's not a good list to be on. And we were on it in 2019, and we're on it again in 2020. So at this point in time, the question that I have, which was the most disappointing, that we're in this position financially in part because our cash reserves, our fund balance, seem to have dropped quite a lot. Under normal circumstances, we would have the 35% that was mandated by this council in cash reserves, our piggy bank, so to speak, our fund balance. And that's where the money should be coming for. That's what they're supposed to be for, to pay for these unexpected legal fees, or if our dump trucks get hit, or if there's a major accident that occurs. That's what the cash reserves are for. We don't have it. And when the question was asked in February, when we learned that we only have a 16% at the end of the fiscal year 2020, and the question was asked by one of the commissioners, what is our current fund balance? Which is really where these legal fees would most typically come from, without having to, what is our current fund balance? Do we know? Thank you. That was the answer that I wanted to hear. Could you tell me what it is? That's
About 32%.
okay.
Right, Ben? We hadn't finished yet. I mean,
It's not been finished.
we're right
Early
at,
projections.
or 32%.
Okay, and I'll just, and that's the question I really wanted to hear. And I'm really, and I'm trying to finish up quickly. I'll go ahead. I actually took the time to go back and read the audit reports. I actually hope that each of the commissioners goes back and reads the 2020 audit. It's hard reading, but there are there's just a couple of things that just kind of stood out that just, even for the non-financial person, like one of the things that stated the 16% fund balance was just eye-opening to see that and not know it. Eye-opening. But the other one that disturbed me greatly, and I'll just read it, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020, the transfers to other funds made in the town's general fund exceeded the authorized appropriations made by the governing body, by the governing board, by $592,393. Even in my untrained eye, that's a chunk of change to not know where that is or where it went. This over expenditure occurred primarily because capital expenditures made in other funds exceeded available funds and general fund funds were needed to cover these capital expenditures. So that was eye-opening. And the other thing that I think we all as a community and you as the board and the audit committee, that coming to realizing closer attention, you're only as good as your staff. And we are volunteers and you are volunteers. But that's a figure, and you never saw the audit before it went. To my knowledge, never saw the audit before it went to Raleigh. And it just for the record, the transmittal data sent on the letter that accompanies this audit, addressed to the town council and addressed to the audit committee, with the exception of Mr. Arnold, who was left off the audit committee, was dated August 25th, 2021. And you didn't see it. So thank you again for your service. I think this is a wake-up call for all of us, that close attention needs to be made, and hopefully with the general manager going in, y'all will still have a say and still have a close look for that. Again, I didn't come here to really castigate, but to say our financial problems began before the lawsuits, with our cash supplies being so low down. So thank you very much, and thank you for your service.
Tom wants to reply, Mary.
And this comment, Mary, is really an interesting one as we look at what happened in that 1920 fiscal year, where we had two major construction projects that were scheduled. We had funded in our own piggy bank a portion of that. What happened in that year is our budget went up to close to $3 million. And the ratio of the fund balance is what we have against in the fund, general fund, against our budget. So when you raise that budget and you divide it by what we always are running anyway, you drop down to 16%. That's one of the reasons that we're jumping back up to 32%, or what we're anticipating to be 32%. And so some of your points are well taken. We've heard them before from you as well as others. We are working through those. And I think the town can feel confident now that with the audit, the other audit that's in arrears will be submitted in June, and we'll be on time from that point forward with some really good fiscal pictures.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Tom. Who else?
I just want to respond real quick. I appreciate your comments, and I had the pleasure of working with you for many years, and I appreciate the way you look at the budget and stuff. And I agree. I'm excited, disappointed where we were, but I'm excited on where we're going as far as cleaning some of that stuff up. Mr. Arnold alluded to some things as well. In a town this small, And again, not going to the lawsuit aspect, but back to Mr. Arnold saying, you know, those dollars are precious. As I spoke today to the police chief in depth on the fact of him asking for the third year in a row about a police car that he needs and that we need as a community. And I'm saying, well, we might not be able to do it. We might not be able to take care of the bridge because we're spending money on some other things that I don't think we need to be spending. So it frustrates me when we don't have a house in order. So I hope we will. One other comment, you alluded to the Board of Adjustments. Thank you for stating the fact they are our neighbors and they volunteered. And I'm disappointed with some of the attacks that we've had, regardless of where they decided on something, they're our neighbors volunteering. So thank you for acknowledging their work.
I've got 7 o'clock.
Hey, Gracie. you
Gracie, go
wanna-
ahead real quick.
She,
Thanking the mayor, thanking the Black Mountain News for our mayor's Monarch Pledge that was taking place at the native plant sale. And we made the front page of the living section. Oh, okay. And we want to thank, Moore Center is the conference center and it's not the college. And the only other thing I wanted to tell you is the numbers. We estimated numbers in attendance about 195. The door prizes for the raffle tickets, we got $428. And we had 3 returning vendors for $150. And we sold the beautiful nature cards and art sales of Jim Williamson, and we have $369. So we just want to thank you for your time, for Mimi's time, for Kitty helping, for Kent being there, for all these people. And you even made it, Ben.
It was great.
Thank
My
you.
family enjoyed it.
Thank you for all your hard work on that, Gracie. We do appreciate it. Folks, I've got 7 o'clock, so we need to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn the public forum?
So moved.
Have a motion to adjourn, and I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now, if we'll stand and face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioners, you've seen the agenda and had a chance to review it. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
I have a
presented.
motion from Commissioner Alexander. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. I mentioned Fran McCaskill. Jack, like I said, was a member of this council, this commission for a number of years and served this community well. And Fran was always supportive of him and to all the members of the commission. And we're sorry that Jack has lost Fran. And she was a dear lady. Want to wish Commissioner Alexander a happy birthday today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's not let that happen again, right?
Yeah.
No, that's better.
We've written a letter to the state treasurer's office. Erroneously, they got some information they were asking for 1 year's questions on audit and so forth. And they were given the information that of the year of COVID, where we didn't have a lot of revenue, and they questioned that. And Ben and Tom Whitmer and Hugh Alexander have straightened all that out and have written a letter to and along with Darlene, and have written a letter to the treasurer and to correct all those errors and so forth. And like we said earlier, we should be right on target with our audits. The one in June, at the end of June, and then one in what, December? October 31st. So we'll be all caught up by the end of October. So just keep your fingers crossed and hope everything falls in place. And our auditors are working very closely with Darlene and with Ben and trying to get everything together. So hopefully we'll be through with all that and have that in the past. Consent agenda tonight is the April 14th Town Council Public Forum meeting minutes and the April 14th Town Council meeting minutes. So those were adopted as the agenda was adopted. Administrative reports you have received. Do you have any administrative reports tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Our commissioners have received reports from the Administration Department, Finance, Planning and Zoning, Police, Public Works, and Water, Sanitation, and Streets. Are there any questions on any of those reports by the commissioners?
I have one, Mayor, for Darlene. I love the report that you give to us each month on the finances. But can I ask a question about the special projects that is listed on the bottom of each of the month financials? I'm specifically speaking about page 27 in the packet. You show the revenues as well as the expenses above for both the general fund and water, and then below are the special projects. It shows fund numbers for each of those. Are all of those restricted funds that are shown there, or funds that are in a restricted account?
Those funds are special revenue funds. So what happens with those are they roll from one year to another. Unlike our general fund and
Gotcha.
water fund
Okay.
revenue expenses, they continue until the project is over.
Okay. In the case of, say, the town hall, for example, it showed a budget of $2,389,000 with amount spent to date of $2,222,000. And that's been static for a while. Do you close that out, and will that difference go back into the general fund?
Yes, that's what's supposed to happen. With regard to the town hall, we still have individuals that come in periodically and donate. They had pledges back when pledges were being taken and weren't able to fulfill them at that time, but now they are. So for example, I think it was maybe a month ago, we got $1,000 from someone. So that fund has to remain open until all the funds are collected and everything is expended. And then the difference can go back into fund balance.
Okay, thanks. That's
You're
exactly what I want to know.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Darlene. Any other questions, any other commissioner? Regarding those reports, the floor is open for public comment. Warn y'all out with public comment. Okay, Mr. McIntyre. Yes, sir, please.
Brian McIntyre, 158 Virginia Road. I'm getting messages in real time here based on the discussion we just had about the shift from administrator to town manager. I mean, yeah. And, we already have a wide step of lack of representation in elected officials because people who own property and cottages here don't vote here. And I guess those people feel somewhat, if I may, I can't speak for them. I don't have a survey. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But I feel like those people feel a little bit disenfranchised because, they're paying taxes. They have a cottage here, but they can't vote for you. They can't vote against you. And now I've got one message here that says, this is one step even further away because someone is going, yeah, I know that you guys control the appointment of that town manager in what would be the new government. However, this person just said that it's one step more removed because it's not an elected official like the mayor who has some real authority. and real bite to be able to make decisions. So I just wanted to add that on because it just came in. And on Survey Park, it would be great to survey those people, send a wide survey, very simple questions. Are you for this change in our form of government? You could get back a lot of data. A lot of people would answer, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Anyone else, Mary?
Mary Standard, 118 Shenandoah Terrace. I think you effectively work as a town management form of government already with the town administrator. I support the town manager form. Well done. And then the town council has the oversight to make that decision. You are the elected representative by those who vote here. And you're sensitive to the part-time residents who do not vote here. But basically, that is your charge as elected officials to make decisions for us. We are a republic. You have that decision to make. I support the mayor council form of government with strict oversight by the council members, not to just let it go. And it makes no difference whether it's a town administrator or a town minister or a town administrator, where they have any affection for the town of Montreat, or whether they treat it as an 8-to-5 job, or whether they treat it as a place that they love, like we all love. That's my input.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Anyone else at all? All right, the floor is closed now for public comment. We'll have another period here later. We have no old business tonight, but starting on new business. Presentation of the fiscal year 22-23 proposed budget and consideration of setting a public hearing. Do I have a motion? I need a motion so that we can talk about it.
I move to set a public hearing at 7 o'clock or soon thereafter on June 9th, 2022 regarding the fiscal year 22-23 proposed budget.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blake. Do I have a second?
Second.
Floor is now open for discussion.
Ben, thank you to you and Darlene for the good work you've done so far. And thank you for giving us the proposed budget for our discussion. On page 29 of the packet, the very first page of the proposed budget, it's missing.
Yes, sir.
You know that.
I
Okay.
noted that
Got it.
earlier. I apologize for that omission.
Okay. Thanks.
And I'll follow up later.
Any other comments or questions at this? I know this is your first blush seeing it. If not, I've got a motion to set a public hearing at 7 p.m. on June the 9th, 2022 regarding the budget. Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor of a public hearing signify by saying aye. Opposed? Now, consider a special meeting regarding budget work session. I shot y'all several dates and time possibilities earlier today. And what were those dates, Tom?
I have it here.
The 23rd to the 26th.
Yeah, 23rd, which is a Monday, through the 26th, which is a Thursday, 4 or 5 o'clock. Shouldn't take an hour, 2 hours to go through, and it's a very simple, very easy budget. What do the commissioners want to do? They have some suggestions.
I would like it to be on the 26th.
Commissioner Alexander proposes the 26th. Any particular time on the 26th, Ms. Alexander? Okay, 26th.
I like the 26th.
Tom likes the 26th.
And I'd like it as late as possible because I'll be coming in from Chattanooga.
Would 5 o'clock work for you?
I'll make it work.
Okay.
May 26th works for me.
Commissioner Fouché. Go ahead.
I had a shop do-it-yourself sausage.
He's gonna be making brats with my son.
So I'm going to have to postpone that class yet one more time. But, you know,
Okay.
I've got to do it.
Angie,
What, Angie?
There's a tentative Board of Adjustment meeting on the 26th at 5 in this room.
Can't we do it in the boardroom?
Well, I can't be both places, sir.
You're good, Angie. I believe you could do anything.
Is
Do you have any feel for the Board of Adjustment meeting yet?
I'll speak briefly to that. So 4 members are currently available and they need to meet at minimum to approve previous meetings, meeting minutes. But otherwise they cannot take any other action on any of their items. But their regular meeting date is the 26th and I've had confirmation from 4 members. So they need to meet at minimum to approve meeting
Okay.
minutes.
Jane, can you do another day?
Tuesday, 24th work?
How about the 24th,
I won't be in town.
which is a Tuesday?
I won't be here. Key won't be here.
Wednesday, the 25th?
What about Friday, the 27th for breakfast?
I won't be here.
You won't be here.
I'm going to clogging school.
Hey, we're busy. Between clogging and making sausage, we're pretty tied up commission.
I can tell there's a lot of retired
Okay.
people on this board.
I paid for it. I can't change the day.
What's Thursday? The 24th?
Thursday's the 26th.
Is that's the day we can't meet?
Well, you could potentially meet later if all they have to do is approve minutes.
What time is their meeting?
5.
5? Can we do 6 on the 26th? Will that work? That work for
6
everybody?
works.
6 on the 26th. See there, you worked it out.
I know.
Told you
Now
you
I
could
can
do
be at both
anything.
meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Setting these meetings time is like making sausage.
Come on up. Well, no, I can't show you. I've still got some I made. It's darn good though.
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a special meeting on the 26th at 6 PM for the purpose of holding a budget work session.
I have a motion from Commissioner Otto. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item C on the agenda is consideration of a contract extension regarding tax collection agreement. This is where we contract with Buncombe County to collect our taxes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do I have a motion on that from anybody?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the contract extension with Buncombe County regarding the tax collections agreement.
I have a motion from Commissioner Otto. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Alexander. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Item D, consideration of renewing property and liability insurance with the Interlocal Risk Financial Fund of North Carolina.
I move to approve the renewal of property and liability insurance in the amount of $23,665 with Interlocal Risk Financing Fund of North Carolina.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Blake. Discussion? Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Consideration of renewing workers' compensation insurance with North Carolina Interlocal Risk Management Agency.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the renewal of workers' compensation insurance in the amount of $13,936.37 with the North Carolina Interlocal Risk Management Agency.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Whitmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, I have multiple seconds. Commissioner Blake and who else? Alexander, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consideration of appointing Alan Crawford as Planning and Zoning Commission ETJ member.
I move to appoint Alan Crawford as Planning and Zoning Commission ETJ member to a term of 3 years to expire May 31st, 2025.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blake.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Otto. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I appreciate Alan coming back. His term dropped off, but so did the possibility of his serving due to ETJ issues, and we were able to clear those up, and he has agreed to come back, and that's great.
Good. Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item G on the, ayes carry. Item G on the agenda is consideration of appointing Danny Sharp from alternate member to fill full-time member of the Board of Adjustment. You sure he wants to do this? Okay, good. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to appoint Danny Sharp as a regular member of the Board of Adjustment to fill an unexpired term that expires on 1/31/23.
Have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Otto. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Grace Nichols, 527 Swanee Drive. I am Chair of the Land Care Committee, and I have spoken with Kitty Fouché, Commissioner, Environmental Commissioner, and I have communicated, and I'm taking part of her time today, or I'm giving time today in reference to what she would be reporting in her Commissioner report. We had an outstanding, even though it was very sparse with its attendance, a land care meeting on May 4th. It was purpose of building awareness of our mountain stream dynamics in general and to provide updated technical information specific to the patterns and management of rainfall in the Flat Creek watershed of Montreat. The emphasis is on the recent stormwater studies and plans and emerging patterns of extreme rainfall events. The contact that Bill Seaman, who is our advisor, our science advisor, had a conversation and called on Mary Roderick, who has a PhD and is part of the Land of the Sky Regional Council. And she is the planner. And she also, as you may know, she works on the Montreat Stormwater Program self-assessment. And that was started in 2016, and she is working with Barry and in fact followed the forum after our presentations, her presentation. She worked with Barry Creasman. The conversation that Bill had with her prior to her coming on March the 3rd brought new information of the evolution of stormwater management in Montreat and the aspects of state permitting. And there are requirements and opportunities of education and community engagement. And that is right up Land Care's alley. In other words, if you are in your planning stages and she had a brilliant presentation on rain resilience and repair. It's a citizen's guide to mountain watersheds and stormwater. And as you go through this, the major key drivers of this storm water issue, she made it right out. The fact that between the last 2 decades and comparing them to other years, 27% of the southeastern part of the United States has increasing rainwater. So that is not necessarily just our little, we're having more gully washers, and we have also obviously the big storms that come. Her presentation, I'm bringing forth in the summer to the Montreat Cottagers at some point, maybe not at their meeting, but there is a wealth of information that our Land Care Committee wishes to inform the citizens of Montreat. Many of our residencies are on a less than an acre, and they're not requiring to do certain stormwater, in other words, the ordinances, and maybe we can settle some of that information with Mary and maybe even with Scott. We found out that Scott Adams actually would be considered the environmental administrator, but we live in too small of a town. But he has that hat if he ever had to have one for that position, right, Mark? Okay. Okay, well, no, well, you will have Mary Roderick to help you out because she is a dynamo. What she did bring to us, and there were a lot of project findings, we find that there is some solution and there is a stormwater partnership. And Kitty, this is maybe what we're wanting to have a future conversation with the board. And that is a partnership with a regional stormwater service program. And it comes with a cost. But because we are a small town, we don't have a stormwater administrator. But if we had a hat to have one, it would fall on his head because you have a small staff. So why was Mary here for us, for the Land Care Committee? The Land of the Sky can provide services, and that Mary would become the consultant. And in answering more questions about this, I think I would have a conversation again with Commissioner Touche. For $3,000 a year, she formalized this program. I think Woodfin and Fletcher and several other communities are using her consultants and being available. And what it does take in is obviously public education and outreach and public involvement and participation. That is where Land Care can be the volunteers. You know that we can go on with our native plant sale, the water quality monitoring. We have a stream team. We're going to have working in a relationship with another organization. We're going to be a stream watch program, and we're going to have creek walks, educational experiences. This community needs to learn about our watershed. And I have to also relay something that she told us, which I was not aware of. It was important to me, that she did make the Montreat Land Care awareness that Montreat's stormwater ordinances does apply to the ETJ, this extraterritorial jurisdiction. This stormwater management regulations apply to all development within Montreat and the unincorporated Buncombe County inside the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Montreat. So we're watching and observing, and we are wanting to know what developments trigger stormwater management and other water rights for better requirements. So we are watching, we want to watch, we want support, and I think the town needs $3,000. And I can try to do some other ways of raising funds, but I'm raising money now. And I will be coming back, by the way, in June, because our proposal for the accessible trail will be in your hands. We'll have our packet. We have our survey done by the High Country surveyors, and we will have our landscape architect plans, and we will ask for your support as you gave last month the thumbs up, or maybe it was 2 months ago.
Did you talk to Ben and put that in the budget?
Which one? The 3,000?
Yes.
Not since Wednesday have I seen it, but I've been moving money around. I have 4 accounts. I had no idea. And Darlene's been helping.
Better watch her, Philip.
Huh?
Got 4 accounts.
Well, one I can't even do anything with, and I'm not sure about that one, but I have had conversations with Will Jones, and he is working toward the foundation contribution.
That's one of the problems with some of the committees sometimes is they don't present their budget request or money in time when we're doing the budget. They come in mid-year
Right.
and want us to find the money, and there's nowhere to find it. a lot
Well,
of times.
we'll have another year of having this
Okay,
conversation.
good.
I'm not expecting, since I just knew about it in May
Okay.
4th. But she will be around, and she's going to continue to work with us. She has enough knowledge about, and we need this knowledge to be in this town if we don't have a stormwater administrator.
Thank you, Gracie.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Gracie, thanks for putting that together. She gave an excellent report, and is it recorded?
Yes. Oh, and I have it recorded. I have all the packets. I was going to give them out, but her presentation has this like a slide, and I've got the recording and the the screenshots that were going during that. And you were listening and you were attending, and I appreciate Kitty's involvement.
It was
Ben
an
was there, too.
excellent report.
What?
It was an excellent report that everybody ought to hear.
Well, I would like to have it in a package that I can have you even go and click on, and then you will hear it. And I'm trying to get that arranged, and for the cottagers this summer. So
Thank you,
that,
ma'am.
that's good, right?
Any other public comments right now? If not, we'll move on. Commissioners' communications, anybody have anything?
I'd just like to thank Gracie and Montreat Land Care and to congratulate her as well as Gene Norris and Brad Hester on the great job they did with the Montreat native plant sale. It had been retired for a couple of years or on COVID watch, but it came back with a bang. It was a great job, and we thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I've got one other thing just to mention, because it's not on, or at least wasn't on the latest draft of the dates to remember. We're going to be having a special meeting that we approved at the last council meeting to discuss possible dog control ordinance revisions. It's scheduled for a week from today at 6 o'clock. Any commissioner, all commissioners are urged to attend. You don't have to attend. It'll be an informal session designed to bring give and take among representatives of the residents as well as dog owners, state wildlife folks.
Thank you for heading that up, Mason.
That's the dog ordinance, we can call it dog ordinance control discussion.
Any other commissioners? Kent?
Yes, as many of you are aware, the college, I think, will be wrapping up this weekend with graduation. I bumped into the president the other day. They had a strong year, very, very few COVID cases, which was wonderful, and they were pretty much back to normal. I think that gives us about 2.5 weeks of calm, and then I guess the MRA will open up with their season, and I wish them a strong season. I just wanted, I'm going to tie this on, Ms. Nichols, with your comments. Typically, and if, over my years, when it comes to budget time, I'll hammer out some things like, no, we don't have that 3,000, and we've got a tough budget year coming up. But I will tie this back in. It's very interesting this year. I talked to multiple students. I love seeing folks from Chicago, from different countries or whatever, up here in Little Montreat, and ask them how they enjoy our community. And it's amazing to hear, you know, I met 2 or 3 young men have never held a fishing pole in their hand, have fished some of our streams in Western North Carolina, have never been on a hiking trail, have hiked our wonderful trails, have never, you know, been able to stand at Lake Susan and look at the beauty. And to hear 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you know, talk about the beauty, it really encourages me to say, we do need to figure out ways to come up with that money, whether it's donations or whatever. So I appreciate your work on that and providing that for all the guests that come into our community.
Anyone else? No. These are dates to remember. Remember, all these are either at Town Hall or another building, but they're all available by Zoom meeting software. Tree Board, Tuesday, May the 24th, 9:30, Town Hall. Board of Adjustment, Thursday, May 26th at 5 p.m. in Town Hall. Town offices are closed Monday, May the 30th, in observance of Memorial Day holiday. Sanitation services will resume on Tuesday. That's always a question. My phone starts ringing late on Mondays. When they coming by? Land Care, Tuesday, June 1st at 9 a.m. Town Hall. June Town Council meeting, Thursday, June 9th, 7 p.m. in Town Hall. Bridge Aesthetics Committee, Tuesday, June 14th at 2 p.m. in Town Hall. Audit Committee, Thursday, June 16th at 2 p.m. in Town Hall. Tree Board, Tuesday, June 28th at 9:30 p.m. in Town Hall. And the dog ordinance is what date again?
The 19th at 6 o'clock.
May 19th, 6 p.m. here in Town Hall. Okay.
Tuesday, June the 1st is on Wednesday. It says Tuesday. Is it on Wednesday? Okay, it says Tuesday, June 1st, so we'll correct that.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into closed session to talk to our attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we enter into closed session in accordance with NCGS 143-318.11 parentheses 3 for attorney-client consultation.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Widmer. Motion was by Commissioner Otto. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. We are adjourned. We will re-adjourn before we close this meeting, so you can either wait or go home, whatever you want to do.